I play a lot of second oboe as well as chamber music and English horn, but for second oboe I need a really good flexible reed that speaks easily, has good intonation, a warm resonant sound. And I have experimented a lot with many reed styles over the years and can honestly say that since I've settled on this reed style, I've never had a reed crisis. There are lots of different reed styles and it's really a matter of experimenting until you find one that suits you. But don't be tempted to take a bit from one method and a bit from another. From the diameter and gouge of the cane to the shape and the tie-on length, everything works together to produce a reed that works. If you just change one of these elements, you might end up with a reed that doesn't work. So we'll start right at the beginning with the cane. I use for this reed style 10mm cane. It shouldn't be wider than this because when you soak it, it will flatten out slightly and be a little bit wider. If it's too wide, you won't get the tension that you need for this particular reed style. You need to select a piece of cane very carefully. I know it's expensive and the temptation is to use every piece. But if you do that and are using cane that's just no good, you'll just end up wasting time instead of money. So what we're looking for, first of all, we need to check that the piece of cane is straight. We check it through the measuring gauge and it should slide absolutely straight up and down. Shouldn't be wider than the gauge itself. We look at this piece from the end, you can see it fits sort of perfectly into the gauge. If we look at that from another angle, we can see at this angle it's too narrow, doesn't fit on this side. So we choose the bit of the cane that's straight, that fits right, and I use a scalpel blade. Other people use Stanley knives, whatever's sharp, to split your cane. We can see from the inside that this is a very, very lopsided piece of cane. It's not straight at all. It's not going to make a good reed, so we discard that piece straight away. Let's try another one. Look at the colour of this. It's nice and golden. It's got no grain in it. And if we look through the light at the cane, we can see a rim round the edge that's a golden dark colour. And this shows a nice hard piece of cane on the outside. If the cane's too soft on the outside, then again it's just not going to make a good reed. Check the diameter once more. And that's a good straight piece of cane. So, to pre-gouging, there are lots of different sorts of pre-gougers. I use one from Reeds and Stuff. You can't go wrong with this. You can't cut your fingers on it or badly gouge it. It takes off quite a lot of the cane, and that means you've got less to gouge on the proper gouger, which means your blade stays sharp for longer. So first of all, on your gouging machine, you'll have a length cutter. So we need to cut the cane to the right length. We choose the length that's the end that's the straightest. Chop that off to the right length. And then we're going to put that through the pre-gouger. Turn the handle, and you need just another little piece of cane to push it out the end. So there's our pre-gouged piece of cane. It's already quite thin, you can see from the ends. It's a good colour, it's not too pale in the middle. It's a nice golden colour on the outside. So now we need to put that piece of cane into soak before we gouge it. Okay. So on to gouging. First of all, we need to soak the cane. Soak the cane, I soak the cane for about 20 minutes and then I put it in a plastic bag to keep moist. Otherwise you end up with if you've got doing a whole batch of cane, you end up with the first piece is not soaking for as long as the last piece is, and the pieces at the end get too waterlogged. The pieces you do at the beginning are not soaked enough. So soak it all for 20 minutes, then put it in a plastic bag, sealed. It'll keep moist, but it won't get overly soaked. Gouging machine. This is a Mikkel gouging machine. From a distance, if you don't know what you're looking at, they all look pretty much the same. If you can, my opinion is, if you can get hold of a Mikkel machine, then they're the best on the market. They're all handmade. The workmanship is fantastic in them. Other people use Reeds and stuff. Riga machines are also good. Some people use Howarth machines. It just depends what you find suits you. So, important thing about your gouging machine, just like your oboe, you need to keep it clean, you need to keep it well serviced, well oiled, and in good working condition. This style of reed requires quite a thin gouge. It's 0.53 to 0.54, which is really quite thin, and there is a logic behind this, and the reasoning is that when you gouge, you're taking away from the inside of the cane. This is the softest cane. The outside of the cane is the harder cane. So if you gouge away more of the soft inside cane, then you're leaving the harder, better cane on the reed to be scraped away then later when the reed is made. So that's the theory. Okay. So we've soaked our piece of cane for 20 minutes, and we check again that it's nice and straight, it's not got any bends in it, that it's a good consistency. We lay it flat in the bed, making sure that it lies absolutely flat in the bed of the machine. Close the handles. And when you gouge, you shouldn't push down. If you push down, you end up flattening the fibres in the piece of cane, which will then just spring apart when it's soaked again, and you'll end up with something much thicker than you thought it was gouged to. So we don't press down, we just move the blade up and down, and you can tell a lot about the piece of cane that you're gouging by what's coming off. If we look at this, we're getting off lots of little tiny stringy bits. Lots of little tiny stringy bits. Cane's not coming off in nice, clean strokes. That implies that this piece of cane is too soft. So I'm not going to use it. So I throw that piece away, because it's not going to be any good. You can carry on, you can spend time gouging it, time shaping it, time tying it on, time scraping it, but if it's a bad piece of cane, it's not going to make a good reed. So I'll take a second piece of cane. Again, make sure it lays nice and flat in the bed. Firm strokes, but not pushing. This piece, you can see that the shavings coming off are nice and solid. It's not coming off in little bits and pieces. Got nice solid piece shavings. If we put these, if we measure the thickness of these, that's about 0.5, which is about right. It should be between about 0.5, 0.6. If you're getting nice regular shavings off at about that thickness, then that's an indication that it's a reasonable piece of cane. Just turn the piece of cane round once. Make sure that we've got a nice even, basically because you'll always have a different hand pressure on from one end of the gouging machine to the other. Good, and when the gouging machine's not taking any more off, and again you don't want to be putting any pressure on it, just letting it slide, and that of course will only work if the machine's in good order. Good. We can do a twist test on this. It shouldn't twist and stay out of shape, it should spring back nicely into shape, proving it's not too soft. We measure that. All the way down it should be the same, which is in this case 0.56 in the middle, or at the thickest point all the way down. You can also check it looking under it through a light, and you can see that it's nice and thin at the edges, thicker in the middle. It's got a good golden colour as you look through it, and I think that should make a very nice reed. So that's the gouging process.